Well,
Okay.
we're on now.
Oh, we're on now. We're on now. Okay. Well, let's get going with the interview then. Hi, this is John VanWyck, and I happen to have Oscar Osbo with me today, and we're going to be talking about Oscar and radio. And just to clarify, Terry Ficcarelli years ago said, the man that put the O in radio is Oscar Osbo. And I think it was questioned whether or not that was a stage name, because we've gone through a lot of different people on these interviews, too, that have had stage names.
Right.
You didn't need to make one up.
No, well, there was one that was made up for me one time, though, by Tim Ackerhoff. He said it wasn't country enough when I was at MUS, and he called me Bo Oscar.
Bo Oscar.
Yeah, hated it. But he did stick with me when I went the first time to WLCS, too. So
Yeah, well, I mean, that's something.
so that's the only one.
Yeah, I mean, the whole history of all the stations that you've worked for in the Muskegon area. Has there been any station you haven't worked for in the Muskegon area?
Not
Over the
really.
years?
Because even Rock 1017, I never was on the air, so to speak, but I did run some games on there. So I guess it counts. Right?
that and the local TV history as well,
Yeah.
with Channel 54, Channel 40 mostly,
Right.
and all of that. And then we're going to get around to doing that. But Oscar, you were born on the other side of the state,
Right.
on the east side of the state,
At Mount Clemens, Michigan. Yeah.
and came over to the Muskegon area.
Because my wife at the time wanted to be closer to her mother.
Oh, there you go. Well, yeah.
And we moved here. And I got started in radio back in 1983, and I was an electronic technician calling around different places to look for work, and I happened to call a radio station right here in Whitehall called WPBK. And the general manager at that time was Jay Ron. And he said, yeah, I got some cart machines I need fixed. So I stopped on over there to fix his cart machines. Fixed his cart machines, and why I did that, the girl that was on the morning show at that time quit. And he said, hey, have you ever done radio before? And I said, well, no, but I always kind of wanted to. He said, well, you want to try doing the morning show? Should have known something was wrong right there. But yeah, I said, sure, why not? That'd be great. So I'm doing a morning show. And at WPBK, a little AM station that probably had like maybe 9 listeners, but hey, I had a great time. And Jay Ron was a great guy because he showed me just about everything I could do as far as editing with tapes, speeds, how to work with the record players, how to use the cart machines to work for my advantage, and just I had a great time just learning from him. And he pretty much let me do whatever I wanted to. I almost played just about whatever I wanted to. I remember him yelling at me one time because I was a country station. I was playing Neil Diamond, and he said, Neil Diamond's not country, but we'll let you get away with it this time. Now, normal radio stations would not let you get away with that. But anyway, he let me build a remote system that had 2 turntables and an old realistic from Radio Shack mixer and a couple of microphones from Radio Shack. And we set up this thing for a music festival. It was a bluegrass music festival. Didn't know anything about bluegrass, but hey, we had a good time just trying it out. And it worked. I played it over a phone line. It was, it was terrible, but hey, it was an AM radio station back in 1983. Well, from there, I definitely had the bug, and but then I had to find another job, and I happened to get back into electronics, so I worked at Dell TV. And Dell TV was there for a couple of years, I think, with John Coons, and he decided he wanted to get into politics, sold his business off, and with that, there was no more work for me. So anyway, looking for work once again, found in the Chronicle and the want ads a DJ job at the brand new Hilton in Muskegon, and I applied for it. I went out there and I showed them I could use the turntables because I had the experience with working with turntables at WPBK, and I got the job. So I was doing the Hilton, and I was there for 4 or 5 years. And in between the jobs at the Hilton, Scott Christmas I met at the Hilton. He was also a DJ there, and he said, you don't got a bad set of pipes. Maybe we'll try you over in the overnights over at Rock 95. So that was my first real FM radio station, was Rock 95, the Port City's hit FM. So I went over there and I loved it to pieces. But unfortunately, like all radio stations, as you'll find out, it was bought by Fred Tescone, who decided he was going to join all the stations with WPB or WKBZ, and so that was no longer. So I got fired. We all got fired at Rock 95. And I remember Jeff, who was the last one on the air, played the song "Famous Final Scene," which was Bob Seger, and I think everybody had tears in their eyes when we closed down Rock 95. But anyway, so then we went. I went back looking for work, and Sherry Kimball talked Fred Tescone into hiring me to work at WKBZ. That's where I got to work a little bit with Cliff Martin, Bill Harms, and Klaus Helpers, and worked a little bit with them. And but it didn't last long because Fred Tescone didn't like me because I was bored stiff with the Music of Your Death format. And he said, you don't sound very excited. It's like, well, you know, it's not exactly the music I like playing. So lost my job there, got fired again in radio.
But Oscar, back in those days, I mean, it took a little bit of engineering background in order to be able to do that. Was there a licensing requirement back then?
Yeah, there was.
I mean,
FCC, yeah. But because actually, when I did go to electronics, I went there because I wanted to become a sound engineer. Is what I really wanted to be.
Right.
And so I kind of got my wish. I mean, you know, in radio and stuff, because I've been kind of the background guy more than the front guy, I think. Been the front guy a lot, but
you're the front guy a lot. Yeah.
But and I always like doing that, creating programs, putting together, and finding people that like you and Greg to shine.
Well, and you started me on my radio career, and so that's a lot of kind of what you've done. You brought a lot of people on board and being able to do that over the years too, and besides the radio, I mean, you got into DJing and doing all those kind of things. It was kind of an ancillary business to the radio business.
Right. Another thing that happened was DJ on the Run, Paul Phillips, who had it for 40 years. Did it for 40 years. We still did the car show just recently too. So he's still doing it. 83 years old, still doing his DJing. But anyway,
something you can't give up. You have a hard time giving it up.
Because I can't lift the whoopers anymore.
I know it.
But yeah, I DJ with him for years. I DJ on my own. DJ with you. We've done.
Done karaoke together.
Yeah. And then anyway, after I left PBK and we did the DJing stuff, I got a job at the Muskegon Harbor Hilton. There was a job in the paper on Easter Sunday.
Okay, all right.
For DJs.
A DJ in the booth
at the Harbor Hilton. Yeah, brand new hotel.
What was the name of the club that was in there?
Emerald's
Lounge. Oh yeah, the original Hilton Hotel in Muskegon.
All the high class hookers right there. Yeah. So I
think that's probably where I first met you.
Yeah.
It was kind of a place that we kind of hung around when, or my early days of the JCs and the Hilton opening up.
Me to the JCs,
and we used to hang around at Emerald's and got to know the wait staff there really well, and you back in the DJ booth.
Right. Yeah, hiding in the booth there. Yeah. But I was there for probably 4 years. I think 4 or 5. But when I was there, of course, I met some great people too, like Scott Christmas. He was working at Rock 95 at that time.
Right.
And he said, your pipes aren't bad. Can you, so I started overnights at Rock 95 and then worked my way to days. And then Tescone came in and bought the station and fired me. So, that was the first time I was fired in radio anyway. So, but Rock 95 was a lot of fun. It was the overnight, it was during the summertime when I first started there, over the overnight, and all the kids would call you,
Oh, yeah.
That was
request.
The first time, and they wanted to know what I looked like and what I did. And it's like, I'm an old married man with 2 kids. You don't want to mess with me. So, stay away. But, we got to drive around on the Rock 95 super van.
There you go. Oh, yeah.
I'll never forget one time, Lonnie Keach was one of the DJs there, and we were over at the LC. And Skid Row was playing, or some heavier rock band, 80s rock band, and we're out there playing Peter Cetera and Amy Grant, and there's this rock band. I was like, we're Rock 95. But it was fun. We had a good time. But yeah, after that, then of course Sherry Kimball's a big influence. I'm sure you remember Sherry.
Sure. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
She got me back over to KBZ.
Okay.
For once again, Tascone fired me.
Yep.
Yeah. He said we were playing. You know, my one joke was we were playing standing on the corner watching all the girls go by, and I said over on Peck and Broadway, and that got me fired. So, I don't know why.
Fred was a little sensitive.
Well, it was basically blue hairs ever listening at the time, kind of like I am now. But yeah, so then KBZ AM, worked there. Then I went to one of the most fun places I think I worked at was Sunny FM.
Okay. Yeah.
And that was in the early 80s, or late 80s. And met people like JoJo Gerard and Mark Erickson, Ranger Bob, Jeannie Vollmer, who was the best for putting promotions together.
Okay,
Hand on boat and sitting on a block of ice, how long you can sit on a block of ice. All this stuff was...
The hands on the cars.
The cars. They had the one that had the... how long you could stay in this ice cold pool.
Oh.
And people were like getting frostbite and everything. Taking the emergency. It's like, some of these things weren't quite thought out too well, but we had fun. But that was Sunny FM. That was just a blast. And in between there, I worked at, of course, TV40, like you were talking.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I started off running the bingo show.
All right.
Doing the guy. I was the guy in the background running the board, and with a bunch of toggle switches everywhere you had to flip, and knobs, the old knob turn boards, and he had, Bud was a classic because Bud Kelly was a genius as far as an engineer goes, because he can make a dollar item work. He put the one thing I thought was the greatest. He put Pepsi lids in front of these little eyes so it would trigger the VCR to play when the automation system. But that was what he used to, so the laser wouldn't go out, be contained. So I mean, just stuff like that. And then, like I say, the what he used for commercials was one of the old cart machines from WPBK, because Jay Ron worked with him over there too. And he would play the commercial on a cart, and then we would put the video part of it would be an old thing that they had from TV 54.
Okay.
It was an old what do you call them? Slide projector.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
it was huge. It must have weighed 500 pounds, and you had to push the slides for the commercials, so you knew when to. So that was the commercials, But that was the early days.
Yeah.
But it got more fun than that. Of course, we had Muskegon Today, which Annette Bach, and which Annette.
Oh yeah.
And then Ron Morissette, I think is his name. And we did that, but then of course they left, and then we got Peggy White Knight in there, which was
Peggy
just
show.
a wonderful lady.
Yeah, and how many years did Peggy last on that?
I think she might have been there at least 15 to 20.
Oh yeah, at least 15, at minimum 15.
Yeah.
And did that morning program of hers, and I was a guest on there many times for what I did at the telephone company, and so I was a guest on there, and you asked Greg Roberts and I to be part of a Friday morning show.
Right. Well, that was after I got fired from Tascone the second time. Or something, I don't know. But yeah, so we did a morning show before Peggy.
Yeah, before Peggy.
You guys did stuff with the videotape of the post office.
Yeah, that was a classic when the tragedy happened down in Oklahoma City.
Right.
The Oklahoma City bombing happened. There was a big thing about vans that were unmarked.
Oh,
and
okay.
Greg and I happened to be doing a thing on April 15th down at the post office.
Right.
We're standing at the late night drop-off box on tax day and talking to people that were last-minute filers in there, and we were taping. Greg was talking on the mic, and I'm behind the camera, and a big van pulls in there into a post office, and Greg says, "I think we probably ought to leave. This is not good." So we packed up the camera and went over to Rackets.
Rackets is the place we did a lot of shows at, but that was later. But with TV40 though, we did LVTV, which of
Right.
course Bud Kelly once again got all the videos from the old Maxis. And a lot of people
Okay.
don't remember the old Maxis.
Maxis, Tanglewood.
So yeah, it was all the 80s,
Yeah.
early 90s videos, and we used to do a LVTV show, which was just a video show. But we'd have local people like DC Cavender from the U.S.,
Yeah.
JoJo Girard,
Yeah.
anybody we could get, Bill Marshall,
Yeah.
anybody we could get.
The remodeled Jockey Club. We're kind of in the midst of the remodeled Jockey Club. We're kind of halfway there and halfway still to go, but it's each week getting a little bit better and a little further along, and we're looking forward to the grand reopening, which should be happening sometime soon. We'll keep you up to date on when that could be, but in the meantime, we kind of wanted to show you with some of the remodeling and some of the things going on, some of the different things going on, and on one of the walls, we've got some really interesting artwork that's been done by local artists, and it kind of gives you an idea of who the actual artists are, because these are kind of caricatures and likenesses of those artists. It also gives you an idea of the everyday clientele of who comes to the Jockey Club and has a good time. Like this strapping, good-looking guy here, this lovely young lady here, and of course the people that I usually hang out with look more like this fella right here. Things about doing a show like this on a somewhat regular basis is every once in a while you get into investigative reporting. Yeah, it's something I've always really wanted to do, and I've got something hot for you now. We've got the secret blueprints of what the new Jockey Club here at the Best Western Park Plaza in Muskegon is going to look like when it's all said and done. Nobody else has been able to uncover this, but I've got them. Here it is. This is what it's going to look like. Now, for those of you who can read a blueprint, and you know, I've always wondered why they call them blueprints, because this isn't blue. This is white and pink and green and purple. But nonetheless, this is kind of what it's going to look like, and it's going to be just kind of a whole new thing. You see down here in this little lower section, as I kind of grab quickly, the kind of the newly expanded dance floor area, kind of working into an L shape, and. Gee, it's just going to be so great. It's going to be like twice the room. Isn't that right, Jackie? Jackie's standing back off camera. But this is really great. This is what it's going to look like, just like this. Now, you have to understand, it is going to be bigger than this. This is not the entire dance floor. This is just a blueprint, or actually, this is a white print. But anyway, you get the idea. This is kind of what the basic layout is going to be. I don't even understand. Do we actually have this thing upside down? Because, well, it looks like part of the writing goes this way, and actually part of the writing goes this way. So I guess we're somewhat confused, except it's going to look something like this. Well, actually, it's going to look more like this when all is said and done. But what we encourage you to do is come out and check it. Just work with me. Just kind of follow me along, and you can kind of see it all. See this behind me, so you can kind of see it all. Yeah, see, that's what it's going to look like. See, don't they look the same? Don't you think so? I think so. Yeah, it's really looking very similar, don't you think? Yeah.
And to introduce videos, you guys, and we just had a ball doing that too. I mean, we did, like I say, Pier Marquette Beach. We went down to Pier Marquette Beach one time with an Elvis impersonator. Went into Burger King, you know, ordered a bunch of Whoppers, you know, and we just stupid stuff.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
But we had a good time, and then of course, JoJo Girard had some fun with them too at Pier Marquette, and it just lots of fun. And we were driving, I was driving back, and the guy's got the camera in the back, and we stop and we see Elvis, and we stop. Hey, Elvis, what are you doing out here? He says, well, I was riding on a trolley and I fell off. I just wondered if I could ride. Just stupid stuff, you know. It's just fun. It was just fun. That's to me what radio was all about, was having fun, because I usually made my money, like I say, like you, extra money was DJing.
Right. Yeah.
I used to make pretty good money doing that with, you know, weddings and stuff, which you have to put a gun to my head to do now.
Oh yeah. Right. Yeah.
But yeah, weddings and all that, and bars and stuff that we played in for years and years. So
what's the answer to the question? Who are we? Why are we here? What happens when we die? Where do we go? Are ghosts real? Are there other worlds, physical, spiritual? These are just some of the questions we'll try to answer. And all we ask is you keep an open mind.
got you. Don't run, cause them got you. Bad boy bail bonds, them got you. Don't run, cause them got you. Bad boy bail bonds, them got you.
Nowhere fi run, nowhere fi hide. Bad boys, them I got you. Boys, them I got you, got you. Nowhere fi run, nowhere fi hide. Bad boys, them I got you, got you.
Don't run, cause them got you. Bad boy bail bonds, them got you. Don't run, cause them got you. Bad boy bail bonds, them got you.
Nowhere fi run, nowhere fi hide. Bad boys, them I got you, got you. Nowhere fi run, nowhere fi hide. Bad boys, them I got you, got you.
Don't run, cause them got you. Bad boy bail bonds, them got you. Don't run, cause them got you. Bad boy bail bonds, them got you.
Don't run, don't run. Bad boys got you, bad boys got you. They gon' find you, they gon' find you, got you.
Don't run, cause them got you. Bad boy bail bonds, them got you. Don't run, cause them got you. Bad boy bail bonds, them got you. Don't run, cause them got you. Bad boy bail bonds, them got you.
I take that back. 1990, I did go to MUS. I went to MUS, was hired by Mark Dixon. Mark had only been there a couple of years, I found out. He started there in 1988 and hired me in 1990, and I loved it. Loved it there. It was a lot of fun. A lot of people heard you. I mean, it was like at that time in 1990, it was a huge successful radio station. And I take that back. You're right. Okay, let's go back. Okay, take that out. It wasn't MUS. I was Sunny FM. Yeah, because it was 1989. Yeah. So anyway, Sunny FM in 1988, 89. I was over there, and at that time it was with Jim Biggins and JoJo Gerard and Mark Frost and just a lot of great people. Mike Rich, Louis Thumser or Sweet Lou Mitchell, and it was just a lot of fun over there, and just had a great time and pretty much got away with just about anything you wanted to say, and I just had a great time. But in 1989, had a car accident and flew out the side window, and so I was out of work for about 9 months. But they did hire me back when I was done, and I went back over there and back over at the Hilton. But for some reason I left, and I'm not sure why. Stupid, you know. You make a lot of stupid moves on radio. But anyway, so then I went to MUS in 1990. Mark Dixon hired me over there, and that was a lot of fun too. We just being on the air there, and at that time, MUS was a powerhouse station, just like Sunny FM was, and people from all over heard you. I mean, we went. It was 50 or 100,000 watt station. I don't remember exactly, but it was huge, and so it was country again, and I just enjoyed that. And then something happened where one of the past employees came back, and they really wanted the past employee's wife to work there. So as a part of the deal, he got to take my shift. So I lost my job again in radio. Anyway, so he got the job, and she got the job, and I found another job in the radio. It was another job I took that Mark Dixon had happened to know of Jerry Barnhart over at the Oldies, which Oldies was just starting out over there. It was after Randy Crow had left, and it was Mike Murphy and Dan Vandermine that ran it, and hired me over there, and I did the Oldies for quite a while with Bill Marshall. Got to know Bill Marshall then, and that went on for quite some time, and I just love the Oldies. But that's just the beginning. But anyway, so TV40, it was like 25 years of my life off and on.
Yeah, and then when did the connection come back in with going over to the corner of Crowley and Laketon? 97.5, 98.3.
Well, that was
right about that, leading into that, because it was about the same
No, I went back to KBZ. And
Oh, you went back to KBZ.
Yeah,
that's right.
When Walt Love, or
Yeah, okay.
Chris Roberts was the program director,
Right.
and Sherry Kimball once again got me in there. And when I worked for Dave Lorenz, by the way, he was one of the best. He's the one that got me to do the Sounds of the '70s show.
Okay,
you know.
right.
I got to introduce my favorite band, Three Dog Night, from him, you know, and stuff like that. So it was pretty cool. But Sherry Kimball's always been by my side and got me in over there for some reason. And so I went back over there. Walt hired me for, I think, 10 to 3 or something like that. Then I got a job from Mike Shanahan, or Mike Murphy.
Mike Murphy.
Yeah, to come back to LCS. I was working KBZ and LCS. So I was Oscar Osbo on both of them, and nobody seemed to care. So I was like, okay, whatever. And then GVU came along and got KBZ because they gave it to them for a tax write-off, I guess. Yeah. And they wanted me to be the program director. So I was the program director there, and doing the mornings and working there like 14, 15 hours a day. And that's when you got involved too with the Friday thing too. Yeah,
well, Greg Roberts and I had been coming on WKBZ with you on Friday mornings, and you did a lot of remotes, from like the Breakfast Club kind of things.
We did from Rackets. We did from
Antons, a lot of different the sunny side over here across the street from where we're doing this recording. At the old Red Roof Inn, I think it was. But it was a lot of different places, and that's literally how you got Greg and I involved in coming over to 97.5.
Right.
Was that, I said, hey, I was doing this thing with you guys on Fridays, and it seemed to work out real well. How would you like to do Saturday mornings? And we're going, yeah, why not?
Yeah, and the late Bob Bolton was the only one that believed in us.
He actually ran a couple of ads in the Chronicle.
Yeah.
I have somewhere in my archives that original thing, Talking Tunes on 97.5, the Eagle. Yeah. And we began on, I believe it was March 4th, 1991.
Was that it?
I think was when that article.
You might know the dates.
Yeah,
I have no idea.
Yeah, it was 91. 91 is when we first went on the air with the 3-hour program on 97.5. You were on the board, and I was doing weather, and Greg was doing whatever Greg did.
Yeah, the reason I went over to WLCS is because WKBZ was given or leased to another company or something.
Yeah, I think it was before
my pay in half or something, so I decided, well, I'll move on.
Yeah.
So that's when I moved to LCS, and that was a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun.
We did have a lot of fun there. And
Ficarelli, I met Ficarelli at KBZ. I got to say a quick story, because you were talking about Ficarelli. Ficarelli was, the first station he came to was WKBZ.
Okay.
On the FM, and he wanted to do this, and he was the one, he demanded an ISDN line, and he demanded a whole bunch of stuff, and these engineers are looking at me like, who is this guy? Who does he think he is? But he did it right.
Oh, sure he did.
He did it right. So yes, I've known him since then. Yeah. He called me the other day. I feel bad because he called me the other day. I'm sure he wanted me to do something, and I never called him back. Anyway, Ficarelli was a great guy.
Yeah, and he still is. He's still around the Muskegon area, or at least when we're doing this interview anyway. And I think we got to talk about getting him interviewed and getting him on a videotape as well. Yeah. We started getting the sports guys involved with the radio history of Muskegon, and
Bob Eckert.
Bob Eckert, absolutely. Well, he started with you and an intern on our program.
Exactly.
He started. You taught him how to run the broadcast board at 97.5, and whatever that was. We called it a studio, but I think it was like an outer lobby to a little restroom.
We all smoked at that time too. It was like
we all smoked at that window. You crank it open, but you couldn't shut it. And the kind of giveaways that we were doing, fuzzy dice, and I mean all this guy. A lot of stories about fuzzy dice, but we won't go there.
Nobody can match the Spam Fest or the fuzzy the fuzzy dice. Thing.
And Greg Roberts,
Turtle Lake Nudist Colony.
Yeah, there was some classics.
That's right.
To say the least, classics. And we had a lead in. Remember our intro? into that thing? The guy from Sweden or Norway or wherever the heck he was from. Well, and to tell you what the story of that was, we were having a Christmas party at the radio studio, and we decided to call. We had got something from a guy. Early email days. I mean, early email, or maybe it even come in snail mail. It had come in from a guy who was picking us up on some kind of receiver or about the Arctic Circle, on the AM side, on the Arctic Circle, and wanted a hat, wanted T-shirts, or wanted some memorabilia that he had listened to us, and we were going to send him that. And so at the Christmas party, we decided to call the guy on the phone. And Bob Bolden wasn't real happy when he got the bill for the call, but we talked to him for quite a while and arranged for him to do a recording saying he listened to the Talkin' Tunes program in Muskegon, Michigan from someplace in Norway or Finland or someplace.
On the AM station, which didn't reach past Montague Whitehall.
but he was picking it up in the Arctic Circle.
Go figure. It's called bouncing, I guess. It really bounced.
So that was, I mean, those were kind of nutty things that, I mean, just little small things, but we did a lot of small things that were added up to being some of the when Bill Iddings was on with us, we tried to do some radio theater. Which worked for maybe 2 or 3 months. We were doing.
That was when Bob took over.
That's when Bob took over, and we had his wife in there, and Kathy came in. Chris Jensen came in and did some parts, and and of course Bambi Biggins.
Stephanie. Yeah, we had of course we had Annette Bach there too, and she did Stupid News.
Oh yeah,
that was always fun.
Yeah,
it was terrible news.
But we had a good listening audience. We had people that were calling in and going out on garage sales, and we called them our sailors. We got a sailing report.
Greg would go scam us stuff.
Greg did the scam. Came back in one time with a case of motor oil.
I love the frappuccinos. That was great.
Good stuff. And that was a really fun time in my life, and I'm sure it was in your life too. But you had a lot of those kind of experiences over the years in a lot of different places.
Yeah, because after that, then they somehow talked me into going to WGBU as program director for the AM and FM over there. But when I got there, I found out I was program director for 2 people. But anyway. But I had fun there. We did a lot of different programs. I started the Motown and Soul Party there. I started Smooth Flavors. I started the swing show we did for a while. The movie show, of course, with Ron Van Jimmeren.
Right.
Started quite a few different shows. Plus, we did live blues from Heritage Landing with the ISDN.
Oh, that's
line.
right.
We
Yeah, absolutely.
And did the Steak and Blues Festival, recorded it, or played it live rather, on ISDN.
Yeah.
That turned out really nice.
Pat Corbin's Steak and Blues.
Yeah. And we did that 2 years in a row, and just I had a lot of fun with that too. But then I ended up going over in the sales area for a while and working over there for a while in WGBU, and then I wanted to come back home. I wanted to be back towards the Muskegon area. So Bob Bolton once again got me the job to come back to LCS, and I found out no, it wasn't the same. So I went to go back to GBU, and it was already too late. But I got a job here again. I think I worked at MUS, I think two or three times. Mark Dixon was always real good to me.
Oh,
He's the
yeah.
one that got me the
Absolutely.
job at LCS the first time with Bill Marshall and Mike Shanahan and stuff.
Great people around the Muskegon area, and we're involved in not just radio. We're involved in. I mean, you were involved with the JCs. You were involved, and because of your talent and the radio, you were able to promote thousands of different events.
Yeah.
To be able to do that, just putting together a program like you had for many years. When I first started coming on KBZ, you had hundreds of different people coming in throughout your career there, promoting everything.
I was doing talk radio for the first time in my life. I was doing talk radio, and I had no idea. Used to have. You remember Deborah Casamata?
Sure. Oh yeah.
I got to say her because we started off doing a Saturday morning show, and we had a ball. That's where we started the Spam Fest, where we started Turtle Lake, and Deborah was totally against it. She was strict news, you know, and she hated it.
Yeah.
But the two of us together worked great. We hated each other. We wanted to kill each other. But word on the street was from Pete June that we were married and in love with each other. But I guess that's what marriages are sometimes. I guess. But we were actually a pretty good team because she was very straight and kept things going, and I was the guy just sitting back having a good time, you know. And so anyway, so they thought, well, this is a great thing. We'll put you on doing talk radio, and 4 hours a day, and you know, or 5. I think it started 5.
5
anyway.
hours, yeah.
But Deborah left. They weren't going to put Deborah on. It was going to be Bill Heinzelman.
Okay.
Well, half the time, Bill Heinzelman didn't talk to me. Half the time, he was behind me, so I didn't know if he was there or not there, you know. So it was basically just me. So I started trying to find everybody in this town. I think that's why I did so well in sales, because I knew everybody in the town because I had them on my show.
Yep.
It's like, okay, come on, you come on my show because I need something to fill, you know.
Yep.
So finally, I found that show. I think it's still on, the Kim Commando.
Sure, Kim Kelly, definitely. Kim Commando's still on.
Yeah, I put that show on just to give me an extra hour. To take off of my show, and so that was quite a challenge for a little over a year, doing the like what you do every day. Yeah. So
Well, it falls into, you want to have some regulars that come on every week and to give an update on whatever when I did as
you were, you were a regular every week.
We came in and talked about the JCs. You know, and what the JCs always had something going on. If it wasn't a community event, it was a social thing that we had going on. When you first started the Saturday morning thing, however, it was it started out being, what did we do the night before?
Right.
And okay, what are we going to do tonight after the night before?
You always kept in touch with what was going on in Muskegon, though.
Yeah.
That's about what was going on.
Yeah, and so did you. I mean, you had to do that because it was. But again, you were part of the fabric.
Yeah.
And that's why the history of radio in Muskegon is so important, because the radio brought out to the public things that in a modern era that we're recording this, where there's no print media.
Right.
The Muskegon Chronicle at this point in time, and as we record this, is part of MLive, and they're online. But it's not real immediate news. It's not anything that's there. And so radio is still important as we find it in 2023 when we're doing this recording. In the future, when people look at this, they may going, "What was radio?" but it was important to the fabric of this community and how it grew up.
Right, I agree.
You know, and all the changes, and I mean, we call out politicians for doing dumb things, and and we'd back politicians that were doing the right things. You know, and so we kind of took political stances, but not firm political debate stances.
I was never that guy.
No, but we always had people on, though, that we were talking about, and other programs that you and I have talked about over the years that were on WKBZ and on different radio talk formats, WTRU for many years with Bill Eckert, and I mean, those kinds of shows that did bring out the fabric of the Muskegon community, and why it was so important and with you with festivals and events and bands playing in the area and young bands starting out that you wouldn't read about in the Chronicle, but you'd talk about, and you have them on your show and talk to them. So I mean, it was important stuff to this community.
What, for instance, I mean, it's not a political thing, but it was kind of a political thing with the Chronicle at the time. They were giving Cherry County Playhouse a bad name a lot of times.
Right.
And we always had Neil on.
Yeah.
And Neil, to me, was one of the greatest guests ever. He was the funniest man. I think
he took over took over the mic.
Yeah, he was amazing. So it was, stuff like that. And I remember one time they asked me when Neil passed away. They asked me to take his place in one of the ceremonies he used to do, and it's like I was honored, but there was no way I could cover that guy's that guy's shoes. He was amazing. I mean, the stuff that he came up with. I mean, here's a guy that wrote sitcom shows that were, Welcome Back Kotter.
Oh yeah, unbelievable stuff, and partnered with Pat Paulson.
Exactly.
I mean, to do Cherry County Playhouse.
Right.
I mean, it's just unbelievable.
Neil Rosen, amazing guy.
Well, I'll tell you a little story, and then maybe you want to edit this out. When after he died, they had a ceremony. He was cremated, and they were taking out on the Port City Princess at the time. And they were going. He wanted his ashes dumped in Lake Michigan.
Wow.
And so I didn't get invited to be on the thing, but Bill Iddings did. And Bill Iddings was part of our morning program at the time. And Bill came after, it was on a Saturday afternoon, and a bunch of us were sitting in Marine Tap Room, and Bill Iddings came walking in there, and his face was black. And we saying, "What did you do, Bill?" He said, "What do you mean?" He said, "You get like black makeup on or something?" He said, "Oh my God." He ran to the bathroom, came back, and had washed his face, and he said, "That was Neil." He said, "I was on the front of the boat. We dumped the ashes in, and they all blew back on the boat."
Oh my! So he had Neil on his face.
That was Neil. Yeah, a little sidebar to Cherry County Playhouse story. Have you ever heard that one? Oh yeah, yeah. The ashes. He said, "Yeah, we went." He said, "We went to dump the ashes in, and we were going right into the wind."
When he came on the Saturday show, well, he really did add a lot.
But I said,
He had such a dry sense of humor. He
well,
was just,
and I said to Bill, I said, "You need to write down this, because that would have been something Neil would have written."
right. Yeah,
He wrote the
right,
script for it. He probably wrote in his will to tell the captain to ride into the wind.
Yeah.
It's good, funny stuff.
Oh yeah. But the Saturday show, that was probably the most fun I ever had, because I had a lot of fun at Sunny FM, but that was kind of my teacher for going to do our show as far as the WGV, that as far as doing WKBZ and I should say WLCS.
Well, you had put together a crew of people, you know, not just myself, but Greg Roberts and.
Well, just got a group. It started with you and Greg. Then we got Brian. And then we got
Annette.
Bill.
Annette was on.
Annette, yeah.
And that was kind of our core group for a while, but we brought in the inventor guy.
Oh yeah.
You know, with Orville. Orville Crane came in once a month or so and gave his new invention of the month, and then we had the guy from Ready Rental. I can't remember his name, and he was the like the rental guy or something. You remember we used to have these guys coming in, the lawn guy or whatever.
But the biggest one that Bill hated, I think everybody hated, was the bowling buddies.
Oh, Bill hated the bowling buddies.
I love the bowling buddies.
And Bill Bartow came in as Roadkill Bill.
Oh yeah.
And gave us recipes for Roadkill.
But the bowling buddies were great because that was the one that.
Well, they were actually a paid sponsor.
Yeah, Bob Bolton said, "You got to have these guys on. This is a paid sponsor." It's like, okay, so we're going to list off a whole bunch of names of people that.
And they were the same every week.
Every week. Yeah.
And actually, it was one of the reasons why Bill Iddings walked away from that show, was because because we were spending way too much time with the bowling buddies. And I said to Bill, Bill, if you go to Northway Bowling Alley and you go to a couple of the other bowling houses around the state, in one evening there are more people that go in and out of those bowling alleys than for a whole season of West Michigan Symphony. Well, and Bill said, what are you trying to get to? I said, there are more people in this community that bowl than listen to the symphony. That's all I'm saying.
I don't know about
now. I don't know about now either. Well, bowling has over the years. This was back in the 90s when Sherman Bowling Alley had two shifts every night from Monday through.
Still open.
I mean, so there was a tremendous amount of people that were bowling, and there was a lot of interest in the bowling. There was a lot of interest in those same people that were rolling 300 games every week.
Well, you and I and Brian, and probably I think Greg too.
And we got into bowling.
But we got free bowling balls.
Oh from Brunswick. Yeah.
I never could bowl with the dark.
I don't remember what the guy's name was, who was their PR guy that we made contact with, and he had us go out to a bowling alley that no longer exists on Harvey Street, out there, and fitted us for the top bowling balls, and we had double bag carriers, and
you know what? I bowled better with my $14 Kmart bag. Kmart bowling ball rather than.
And then we got invited to like tournaments and things that were going on, and
it got to be a drinking thing.
yeah, it did.
I make the strike. You guys got a drink.
That's the only time I've ever been in Ravenna Bowl. So, I had a radio station shirt on a couple of times.
Yeah, it was fun. Oh, you were always great with that too, giving us this nice coats and shirts.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Thanks to Verizon.
We always had the garb in it, and then we brought and one of the things is one of the great guys that you hired, who's still, at least in 2023 and going into the football season, bringing young talent on, and Bob Eckert.
Yeah.
And when you brought on Bob Eckert, it's become a second career for him as well.
And he's excellent.
And he's very good at his research and what he does.
He did the stuff with you guys, but I also got him to come back when I did a short stint on Muskegon 100.9.
Okay, right, yeah.
I was there for probably a year. Went through the whole COVID thing. We did it from home. I did it from home after that. We lost Bob, but Bob was doing some stuff that was hilarious on the show, and I wish we could have got it back because
great humor.
He was awesome.
He was great awesome.
Humor. And Kathy too. And then, that was kind of nice too because we got a crew together. You came in on a couple times.
Yep.
But we had Bob Ecker, Kathy Ecker, Greg Roberts, who's doing his own thing now.
Yeah.
And also Berta came in. She used to bring us cookies, which was great. And and then Paul from DJs on the Run used to come in. Yeah. He was the old guy that just kind of sat there and went, "Yep, yep." But you got to have a yep guy,
Yeah. Oscar, personalities that you work for, who's best and worst?
Well, you of course.
Well, by the time anybody watches this, they're not going to be alive. So.
You, of course. I mean, one guy that we just lost, of course, that I always thought should have been huge in radio was Boatman.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
He had the greatest delivery ever. I thought he was awesome. Yeah. And I'm so glad that I got
fun guy to be around too.
Yeah.
Oh God, he was a fun guy to be around.
I got a chance to record him before he passed.
Right.
Jojo Gerard, he's always been a lot of fun, and he taught me a lot. Mark Erickson, Ranger Bob, he let me use the studio, so he let me do that. The other guy that I wish was still alive too is Jay Ron. He was the guy that first got me into radio, and he just let me go free in the control room, and he let me go free in the editing room. I learned how to do stuff, and that was back with the tape days, the big reel-to-reels and everything. And I made this character called Half Pint, which was basically a character that was like Alvin and the Chipmunks,
Okay.
Because you do the thing where you go in the slow and you put it up in the speed. So, but it was terrible. It wasn't funny. But it was still stuff that you did and you tried. And I did the Elvis promo when Elvis had just died. And the big glory hallelujah and the whole thing. But it was just doing the editing and doing that kind of stuff. That's what I really love to do. And a few guys that let me do that was like him, and I got to work in the Sunny FM studio, which was top of the line at that time.
Right.
And I did a thing on Woodstock when Woodstock was 20 years old or whatever it was, and 89. What would that be?
Yeah, it would have been
89. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, so. I did a thing on Woodstock, and I did it, and I listened to it not too long ago, and I was so off. I don't know where I got my information from, but boy, it was really bad. But nobody seemed to care. So. But I had little flashy noises and all that stuff put together, and like I say, putting together the shows and putting together personalities to be on shows. That was kind of what I really enjoyed doing.
You did, you did a
and I'm just doing sales at Real Gold Radio, so I'm still kind of there.
Okay, the most memorable time on radio, good or bad? Most tragic thing that happened, or the best thing that happened?
Well, the first time I got fired by one guy twice would be past.
That's tragic, yeah.
But no, it wasn't really tragic because that was the music of your life when I was doing that for me.
There you go.
It was really rough for me. After going from Rock 95,
elevator,
even though it was Peter Cetera.
Elevator music.
From Rock 95 to, But I did love working with Cliff Martin.
Okay.
I thought he has one of the greatest voices in radio.
Yep.
I loved working with JoJo, like I said before. JoJo is exactly who he is on the radio.
Yeah.
He's just a good guy.
Yeah.
And of course, Paul Phillips from DJs on the
There you
Run.
go.
I've been
Yeah.
friends with him for 40 years.
Yeah.
Longer than you.
Right.
even.
Oh yeah.
So yeah. So those are my inspirers. I tell you, they were some great guys. I had a lot of fun. Bud Kelly.
Bud Kelly. Oh,
I mentioned
absolutely.
Bud Kelly,
Yeah.
'cause, I mean,
Yeah.
he let me do things that nobody in their right mind would let him do on TV.
Yeah.
You know, and. I don't know if anybody watched.
Well, just messing around with all that equipment.
Had a good time.
I mean, just messing around with all that
Yeah,
equipment,
well,
the liability of doing it.
I know.
Having people stick their hands in that stuff.
Yeah. That's how I learned video, and I did
Yeah,
a lot
yeah.
of things with video too.
Right.
You know, so it was fun. So, but yeah, Bud Kelly, I got to give him a lot of credit because he let me do some things that most people wouldn't, and him and I fought all the time. But
Right.
We always.
But in the history of you doing radio or broadcasting, and maybe an on-air, something that may have happened in the world that you would say that was number one, that was the most either tragic or best thing.
Well, definitely the most tragic was you and I put a lot of work in that 70th anniversary thing for
You did.
WKBC.
Right.
Interviewed a lot of people that are no longer around anymore.
Right.
And just did a whole bunch of research on that. Ended up in the Muskegon Mall. And when I came back from the Muskegon Mall in my tuxedo that day, when Michael Valenta told me that the station is being handed over to somebody else, and it's like, what?
Why did we just do all this research?
You're joking with me, right? Right? That was a
pretty tragic.
day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I mean, I did a lot of work as program director and did a lot of work trying to build this station up. Our ratings went up on the AM.
Yeah.
The ratings went up on the FM by firing somebody.
Yeah.
And yeah, anyway, yeah. So it was a lot of work. That was the problem. We were actually making money.
Yeah.
So WGVU couldn't keep going which I understand. They couldn't.
Yeah,
they're a
well, they were
nonprofit,
simulcasting too
Yeah.
for a while,
Yeah.
with then using the old 850 AM frequency,
Right.
and it was kind of Muskegon.
Yeah.
too.
Well, they were, like I say, they were making money. Pete June was making money. They had like quite a sales staff, like 3 or 4
Yeah.
salespeople,
Yeah.
which is a lot for
Yeah.
a little AM/FM station.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I think the FM was 3,000 watts, and
Yeah.
of course the AM reached everywhere.
Yeah.
But and that's when people listened to AM radio.
Right.
So they still do though.
Well,
for you,
well,
John.
but and at least at this point in time, Congress, and at least in this year of 2023, the Congress is talking about preserving AM radio
Yeah.
as a safety device for people that may not have a cell phone, or
Right.
may not, or even if they do, being able to transmit
Right.
the AM frequency, that people will be able to, in case of national disaster, national emergency.
Are they
So
even put them in the new cars now?
there's legislation at this point in time. We know it's going to happen. We think it's going to pass from the National Association of Broadcasters that will require car manufacturers to have AM radios in their cars in this country. So that legislation sounds like it's going to pass. So it'll probably, by the time anybody's watching this, will probably say, "Well, yeah, that was old legislation," and yeah, everybody still has AM radio. So I think they're preserving AM radio because they really have approached it. National Association of Broadcasters have approached it from a safety aspect of making sure that signal is there and everything's in place. You don't have to replace that with any kind of Amber Alert or anything else. You already have the alert systems in place, and they work.
You know, the AM 850 frequency was purchased, I guess, by a church, I guess, and they are using that frequency. They're still using the frequency,
Really?
and they're running it over at the old ham radio building.
Oh, really? Yeah.
In was that Whitehall? I
Whitehall,
think
yeah. It's Whitehall, yeah.
And because I arranged it with Dave Oliver. He's a great guy.
Yeah.
Dave Oliver's the engineer at WGVU, and he's always been a good friend. But he let them use the FM 95 tower.
Okay, all right. That's the tower they're using.
Yeah, so
okay.
they're using that tower, so it's it's kind of nice. It's still alive. It's not news talk anymore, but it's still a frequency that everybody remembers.
Really,
850
really, yeah.
reached everywhere. You know. So
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Anything you want to say, Oscar? I mean, this is
No, I just know that.
how do you want to be remembered? I mean, and I mean, in the future when people are looking at this and remembering Oscar Osbo put the O in radio.
I guess just by the good times, because
Yeah.
I had a lot of good times, and I think I helped a lot of people move into this
Oh, and you did.
field.
Oh, you definitely did.
And shine, because that's what I always look for. I never considered myself the big shine. I always thought of other people being the shine, and I was just kind of like putting it
Yeah.
all together and making it work, you know.
Yeah.
So that was kind of what I think I did, which is kind of an engineer's job, I think, to make it all work.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
'Cause
absolutely.
I did come back here to MUS and did some engineering by some of these people's shows, like Jim Riley
yeah,
that was
yeah.
here.
Right.
Yeah, so
That's good stuff. We still look forward to working with you in the future.
yeah. If I get up that early anymore.
Yeah, I know.
sure.
You know, you're welcome back in the studio anytime.
So thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I appreciate your friendship through all these years.
Yeah, and I've appreciated your friendship
Yeah.
as well, because it's meant a lot.
Oh yeah.
Have the big O.
So let's do this radio thing at the museum.
Yeah, yeah.